Hey guys, it's Misty with Recovery Resource Council, and I'm here to talk to you guys about decision making and commitment. Hopefully you guys are doing good during this time. I hope that you're staying quarantined and that you're practicing your social distancing. And I hope that you are well in your mind, that you're getting a little bit of exercise. And going with that, we're going to talk about some things you can do to stay healthy, and some things you can do for harm reduction. So we're going to talk about harm reduction and commitment in a minute. First, we're going to talk about decision making. So what do we need to think about when we're making decisions? Like, what is the last decision that you've made? I know for me, my decisions are what time am I going to get up? What am I going to get my kids doing? What am I going to do? What am I going to work on today? I have my handy dandy little calendar here, and that helps me to keep my mind on track about the things that I'm supposed to be doing on the work week but there's bigger decisions that we also have to make, right? So we're going to talk about that. So when's the last time you made an important decision, and what are the steps that you took to make that decision? Today we're going to talk about brainstorming. So that would be the first step in decision making. So brainstorming, like weighing out all your options, making sure that you know what all the possibilities are. So throwing out your pros, throwing out your cons. And when you're brainstorming, I think it's best if it's a huge decision, like maybe brushing your teeth is not something that's like a huge decision, right? Like it's something we have to do every day, but it's not something that we really have to think about. But are the consequences going to be bad if we don't brush our teeth? Yeah. Are the consequences going to be bad if we don't put on deodorant? They're going to be stinky decisions. Like, we're going to stink for a day, but we're not going to have anything serious happen. Like, our arm's not going to fall off. And so we need to make sure that we're weighing out the consequences when we're making decisions. So first, we're just making a list of all of our options. So let's just say that you have a test on Friday, and what are your choices, right? So you can either study or you can not study. You can study a little bit. You can do just enough to get by. Like, you can make a plan to study a little bit every night. Let's just make it easy and say it's a spelling test. If it's a spelling test, you could study maybe 5 words every night. Or you could cram all on Thursday night, trying to get them all in on Thursday night. Or you could not study at all. So there's a lot of choices. It sounds like easy, study or not study, but there's a lot of different scenarios we could go through. So when you're brainstorming, you're going to go through all those scenarios. You're going to think about, how long do I want to study each night? Do I want to study every night? Am I going to cram at the last minute? Like, and what am I willing to settle for or suffer through? And I might talk about that a little bit longer, but I always tell my students, what is it that you're willing to settle for or suffer through? So you may have to, my phone just went off. You may have to suffer through some study time, right? Like, yes, studying is not fun. It is not something that I want to do. It is not something that I want to spend my time on, but am I willing to suffer through that study time so I can achieve the most that I can achieve? Am I willing to suffer through some hard times for the best outcome? Or am I willing to settle for something like a failing grade? Am I willing to settle for a B? Am I willing to settle for a C? Am I willing to settle for a D? A lot of times we make decisions when we're brainstorming, and we'll write out like not all the options, and then we won't write out all the consequences. So when we're brainstorming, we need to make sure that we make both lists, all the good things, all the bad things, the bad things that can happen, and make sure that we process all that.
Misty has given you some great information about decision making. Let's look at a video that shows how the simplest decisions in life can be difficult. This video was designed to add a sense of humor to the decision of what to order at a restaurant. I know for me, I can definitely relate to it. Maybe you can relate to it too.
There's so many choices. How am I gonna pick the right one?
Yeah, there's like 10 pages in this menu. And don't worry about choosing the right one.
Sometimes I just wish there were like 3 choices and that they were all great.
Right, but if they were all great, wouldn't it be just as difficult to make a choice?
Maybe,
but it'd be like difficult.
You know what? I'm just gonna have the fish and chips like I always do.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah?
I mean, if you're gonna get the same thing every time, was there ever really any choice involved?
Well, yeah. What I'm saying is that there's so many choices, it forces me to make the same choice every time.
So you're saying that if there were just 3 choices and one of them was fish and chips, you'd choose something different?
No, I'd probably choose the fish and chips.
Because they're so good.
But-
and because I know they're good. Because, if I were to pick the Eggs Benedict, right? How would I know if that's equal to or better than the fish and chips?
Oh, they don't do breakfast after 11.
Oh, thank goodness. Fewer choices.
I mean, I just get something different every time.
And sometimes it's terrible and you hate it.
I think this time I'm going to have the risotto.
That sounds good. Where is that?
That's what I love about this place. So many choices. You can come in here every Friday and order something different and never get tired of it?
Yeah, I'm getting tired of fish and chips.
Hey there. Are you ready to order?
Oh,
I know what I want. Do you have any questions?
well,
Anything you want me to help narrow down? Just so there's fewer choices?
No, I like choices. I'm fine.
I'll give you a minute.
Thanks.
That looks good. What's the point? Anything I get won't be as good as your risotto. And once we get our food, you're gonna be like, want to try some risotto? And it'll be like the best damn risotto. Totally shaming my shepherd's pie.
So, you want a shepherd's pie. That's good.
I don't even know if it's on the menu. I was just using that as an example.
Well, why don't you just get the risotto?
2 risottos?
Then you get the risotto, and I will get something else.
Then the guilt of knowing that I took your risotto from you will be 10 times worse than me actually having to make the wrong choice.
Okay, well, you better choose something fast because the waiter is coming back.
Alright. All set?
You go first, so it gives me some time to make my choice.
What can I get for you?
I'll have the risotto.
Ooh, risotto, excellent choice. It's my personal favorite. And what can I get for you?
Do you have shepherd's pie?
I could check. So you may or may not have shepherd's pie? No, probably not.
Okay. I will just have a quesadilla.
Oh, that's it? Just a cheese quesadilla, no chicken or anything? Great. 1 risotto and 1 cheese quesadilla.
You feel better?
I don't know.
And after we've brainstormed and we've made a decision, we can re-evaluate that decision if we need to. So we can rethink that. We can choose a different outcome. So if we're in the middle of a bad decision, I've used this often, this example, my son when he was in 1st grade or kindergarten or something, him and some of his friends went and toilet papered the boys' bathroom. So that was a bad decision. That was something that they shouldn't have done. But could they have, at the beginning of that, rethought, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe this isn't the best option. Maybe this is going to get us in trouble. So can you rethink and reevaluate the things that are going through your mind or the decisions that you make? Yeah, you can. And so we always need to think about the consequences of our actions before we actually make a firm decision. So I watched a training video this week, and he said, play the tape all the way to the end. So I just encourage you to do that also. Play the tape all the way to the end. When you're brainstorming, list all the pros and cons. List all your options, and then list all the consequences. If you do this, then what is the consequence of that going to be? And not all consequences are good and not all consequences are bad. But we do need to consider what the different consequences are when we're making decisions, especially big ones like, should I smoke this cigarette or should I smoke this joint? It seems like that's not that big a deal, but if you actually play that tape all the way to the end, what is that going to look like for you, right? So are you going to be the person that can smoke 1 cigarette and never pick another cigarette up again? Or do you have the potential to be that person that may pick up a cigarette or a joint and smoke it and then try it again? Maybe, well, that wasn't that bad, so maybe like I'll just do it when I'm with my friends. And so then you just start smoking when you're with your friends, and then it might turn into, I'm going to use it every time I'm having a bad day, or every time I'm not feeling good. Then I'm going to smoke a cigarette, or anytime my mom makes me mad, I'm going to smoke a joint. So if you play that tape to the end, then could it lead to addiction? And people think that sometimes we're free to make our own choices, like we can handle our stress and pressures however we see fit. But if it's not a healthy choice, then what could the consequences be? Could you be the person that ends up in rehab, or losing their job, or losing their girlfriend or boyfriend, or losing their family? We have to make sure that we're thinking about all the consequences of our actions. So maybe in the moment it seems like, it really doesn't matter if I smoke this cigarette or smoke this joint. Like, I'm not going to become addicted. Well, most people, I don't think anybody, when they're small and people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't think that anybody says, hey, I want to be an addict. I want to be someone who can't say no. I want to be someone who is so addicted that it's bringing negative things to my life and I can't get out of this. And so think about that when you're making decisions. And then if you're in the middle of a bad decision, then just reevaluate, rethink it, and pick something different, right? And then we're going to talk about commitment. So a commitment is just making a statement, or making an agreement, or making a anything like that, and then following through with it. So a commitment could be, what could that commitment be for you? So if you are someone who uses, if you are someone who smokes or drinks or gets high in any way, what could you commit to for harm reduction? So drug abuse is really just a result of continuous poor decisions. And sometimes those poor decisions lead us into addiction. And that's what we're trying to prevent. So we want to avoid making poor choices so we can avoid addiction.
Now let's see an example of how making positive choices can help you to be successful. Whether it's a relationship, work, sports, or whatever, making good decisions will pay off now and in the future. The people you surround yourself with will help you make important decisions at critical times in your life. A big problem today is absent fathers. This father decided to be there for his kids, and chances are that his sons will eventually be great fathers someday.
I was always told I had to be the best at any and everything I did. Like, whatever you gonna do, you have to be the best at it. That gives you the mindset of, okay, I have to work hard at this. I have to have determination. I get my opportunity on that field, I'm gonna make it count.
All pro, Pro Bowler. He never lacked for the confidence. And I think taking some losses early to his cousin and his older brother, it made him have that drive.
We started training pretty young.
If I ain't working, somebody else working. And then when I meet that person who's been working harder than me, they gonna beat me. But if I'm constantly working hard, when I meet whoever it is, I'm gonna be ready for the challenge.
Go. One. See, this is the perfect fit, right? They have to be ecstatic that this young man. Jalen Ramsey, Philly overall.
One of the things my parents taught me was that as parents, you're supposed to sacrifice so that your kids can get more than you had in life.
We wanted them to have better opportunities than we had.
We never had to ask, where's my mom or where's my dad? They were always here with us.
We worked hard. I worked for the fire department, but I also had a second job.
It's kind of a sacrifice. Some nights, I'm a fireman now, so some nights you don't sleep. So for him to come home and still take us here and there without ever saying anything, that's huge.
Like, all the time was invested in me and my brother to make sure that we grew up successful.
He was always the smallest, but he had the most fight. We were beating fathers and sons in basketball games. Go get your dad. We beat you and your dad. Get your dad, your uncle, I don't care. You know, he talks so much that he has to continuously work to back it up.
Most people don't see the work that's put in, they just see the outcome. They saw all the offers coming in, the Friday night hype, but nobody saw what was put in. Grinding at school, weights, and football practice. Right when I get home, before I do my homework, I'm working out again. So it's like I'm doing 2-a-days in high school, after school. I'm addicted to being the greatest ever, to come through Tennessee football and go on.
Going into a big school, you have some hype. Now let's see if you're really the guy.
His goal when he signed with Florida State was to be a starter. So Jalen's very first college game, I get on the plane, I have to turn your phone off, and I get off, I have like 10, 12 texts from him, just like, calling me.
First quarter, no score, 3rd and 10, first drive.
I remember hitting up my dad, yo, I'm gonna start tomorrow. I was nervous as hell.
I get there, he's like, I'm starting. It's like, okay. He's like, I'm nervous though. It's like, why? You've been doing this since you were 5. It's football. You can handle this. My heart was pounding so hard. When he got the pick, man, I was so hyped up in them stands, crying, whatever, you know, I was proud. I was real proud.
Yeah, we go for wins, baby.
We went on like a 29-game win streak.
As a freshman at Florida State, he's chosen 5th overall.
Jalen's an all-pro cornerback, still training in the garage that he was training in 3rd grade.
I spent my off-season right here, back home, where I grew up with my pops and my brother, in the garage, on the field, at the track, on the hill.
My dad knows him better than anyone, knows how his body reacts, knows how his body recovers, knows his attitude, knows how to push the buttons.
Me being a father and getting to spend quality time with my boys is more important than anything else.
A lot of guys go to LA, a lot of guys go to Miami, a lot of guys go to Arizona. But I'm right here in Smyrna, Tennessee.
He deserves everything he's gotten because he worked for it. Nobody's giving him anything.
Don't you cheat again.
Uncle JJ is amazing. He goes around and wrestles with the kids, spanks them for no apparent reason, trash talks them for no apparent reason.
Off the field, Jalen is like laid back. Between the white lines, it's all business.
I'm gonna press you right now.
Jalen never stops talking.
You're not strong enough. Hey, we gotta play with that swag. It's on us. You're not strong enough, 15. Right here, baby.
Because I'm gonna beat you up physically, mentally. I ain't never gonna stop.
A little juke move, boy. I would've stuck you.
He's just, I mean, he's an uncle, you know. Uncles are fun to be around.
Let's go! Let's go! I win!
And once he becomes a father, I don't see much changing.
By the time my first child, I already feel the responsibility.
I'm still like in disbelief, like my baby's getting ready to have a baby.
You know, you want to give your kids every bit of information that you can, and the best way to do that is time. You got to give them your time. So that's one thing I'm definitely going to try to take from my dad, put into my life as a father. So me and Pops, we got that relationship where I'm just like him.
Me doing what I did to help Jalen make it to where he is now is what I think any father who wants to see his son reach his dream should do. You're leading them because they're going to lead a family one day. You hear people say, he acts just like you. Well, who else should he act like? He should act like me, you know? That's important to me.
He is my dad, my friend, my trainer, my advisor. He's kind of everything. Words really can't describe, how thankful I am of all the sacrifices and everything that was put into me to make me the man who I am today. Like, no matter what you do, you can never pay that back. I just gotta continue to try to do my best to show my appreciation, man. That's it.
Okay, so when we're talking about commitment and harm reduction, if you are someone that uses, then what could it be? What could you commit to in this moment, right? If you're someone that uses all the time and you say, I don't want to stop getting high, I don't want to stop smoking weed, I don't want to stop smoking cigarettes, I don't want to not drink, then if you can't commit, because remember, commitment is making a statement and sticking to it, like not deferring from what it is that you said you were going to do. So if you can't say honestly in your heart that I'm willing to quit smoking or quit drinking or quit getting high, then what is it that you could commit to, right? If we think about just harm reduction, just doing what you can do today to make your life a little healthier, could you at least commit to maybe the next time you're smoking or the next time you're drinking, just think to yourself, hey, I know this is bad for me. I know this is hurting my brain, that's hurting my lungs. So what can I do? Like, can you commit to at least think about that? Can you think about the negative consequences of your drug use? Even if you can't commit to not using, can you commit to thinking about the negative consequences of your use? Could you commit to discussing drug abuse and drug use with other people? So if you use with other people, which most kids do, could you commit to saying, I'm just going to say, just because Miss Misty mentioned this, that this is bad for us and it's hurting our lungs, and we're just acknowledging that this is not good, right? So could you have that conversation with one of your friends saying, this is not good for us, this is not something that we should continue in, and so maybe the more discussions you have about how it's negatively affecting you, then the more thoughts you could start thinking on to maybe stop. Could you commit to cutting down on your drug use? So if you smoke every day, could you at least say, and I have a lot of students that smoke every day, and some of them are in my classes because they're smoking on their way to school. So if that's you, could you commit to not smoking on the way to school? Could you commit to only smoking after school or only on the weekends? Like, what is it that you may be able to commit to lessen the harm that's coming to your body? If you refuse to quit, what could you do to make you more healthy? What steps could you take to help you out today? What could you do? What little decisions could you make to possibly prevent you from being in DAP, or prevent you from being in trouble with the law, or prevent you from having an overdose, or prevent you from having alcohol poisoning? What is it that you could commit to maybe and just be smart about your drug use? If I do not condone drug use, like I do not want you to do any of those things. But if you do, could you commit to reduction? Could you commit to not smoking before school? Could you commit to not taking drugs to school? Could you commit to stop using? Because that's like a huge thing. You'll hear in these videos about how the drug use damages your brain and how alcohol damages your liver and your brain, and how it affects you. And so what could you commit to stop using? And if you're using because you're hanging out with other people that are using, could you find new friends? Like, just ponder these things, because once you start rolling thoughts around in your head, you feel like, hey, maybe that is an option for me. So just think about it. And the last thing, could you commit to being drug-free? And if you can, that's awesome. Hopefully you can. And if you can't, then what can you commit to today to take little baby steps towards being drug-free? I just want you guys to stay healthy and happy. I want you to be happy and healthy and capable adults. I want you to make good choices. And even though these choices seem like it's not that big a deal right now, like all your friends are doing it or everybody else is doing it, or you're just curious, why not try it? I want you to think about what the consequences of that could be. So play the tape out to the end. I love that. Know that people don't plan on becoming addicted, right? So I know these choices don't seem like they're that big a deal, but they are. So just try to think about all the pros and cons, brainstorm, reevaluate, make new commitments to yourself, and let's take steps to be healthier every day. So that's all I have for you right now. I hope that you guys are going to try to think about these commitments, think about something you can do to be better and to use less. And I hope that I see you soon. So, bye.